This is FCTV, fan-controlled television. Programs created and produced for the fans, by the fans of fan-controlled sports and entertainment. As always, power to the fans. And now, it's time for the show.
Hell yeah, it is.
Yeah, you've done it now,
It's
jerks.
Time for the show. Jerks. We're just starting off the show calling all the viewers jerks. Hi.
I hate you guys. I'm Alex and I hate you.
Great. We're going to have our banner stuff that we normally have in a little bit. We had to go a little earlier today because I have a work meeting. Did you notice that I'm wearing I have new glasses?
I didn't notice.
These are new. I'm not sure how I feel about them. I'm now this is the first time I've actually kind of seen them in a video Zoom. I can't tell if I like them or not. I don't know.
Neither can I.
Yeah, I mean, I see better. That's the functional part. It's the whether or not these look cool in a Zoom square.
Well, I'm all I will say is this: they are all right looking glasses, stylish. They're unobtrusive, stylishly, but they don't feel like you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's okay. Maybe I have 30 days to take them. Well, I less than 30 days. I have 23 days to take them back. So I might take them back. I might not. Who the heck knows? Hi, I'm Kenny Stevenson.
And I'm Alex Enriquez. And with Warby Parker, you too can try on stylish frames for less, prescription lenses that your optometrist says are okay. Use our link, warbyparker.com/
Not a sponsor of the show. Not a sponsor of the show. Nope.
Shoot.
Nope. Not a sponsor.
God darn it.
But I'll tell you, what is this show? This is because there's normally a banner. We'll get that in. Jess is coming. She's going to bring it. She's what we're doing. We're going a little earlier, so it's not. We're not always ready to go. This is fan control fandom. This is all things taking place in the cape space, as we say, on this show. So capes. People wear capes when they're fighting dragons. People wear capes when they're flying through space. People wear capes when they are getting ready to fight Mike Atreides as the regent to the emperor, as they do in Dune. What are you having a conversation with yourself in the chat? Come on, guy. We're talking about Dune, baby. Dune Part 2 is why the name of the show is Dune, 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 Dune. Spice, baby. Oh, man.
It must flow. I love it. Mark, the king of the planet Dune, and his guys they're all about it. Mark Atreides. Jeff
Atreides leading. Also, it's so funny. I mean, we're going to get into this so much, but it's so great that he's like Muad'Dib, Lisa Al-Gaib. Oh, who is that? Paul.
Yeah. And that's his mom, Stephanie.
Jessica. That's her name. You sent me that great TikTok. The memery around this movie is just next level stuff. But we're going to get to that in a second because we got to talk about the quick pieces of nerd news. It's called Quick Hits. Here it comes. It's got a stinger. Quick hits. Yeah. Yep. That's it. This is where we're talking about quick pieces of nerd news. And there is news, as there is every week in the nerd fandom space. Kind of some big news kind of spinning around the fandom verse at the moment. The biggest thing that I read this week that is number one on the call sheet of our sheet that we're calling. Oh boy. Strap in. So, the big news, not big news, but news that have been kind of circling around the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the character of Kang. So Kang the Conqueror was being posited as the big baddie, the Thanos, if you will, of phases 4, 5, and 6. We saw him as He Who Remains at the Loki season 1 finale. He was then fully as Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. We then saw him again in Loki season 2 as Victor Timely, which is just an all-time choice as an acting choice. But the key component of this is that the actor who was playing Kang, Jonathan Majors, is for all intents and purposes a misogynist guy who's got some real issues. I hope that he gets whatever help that he needs, but he is no longer going to be playing Kang. They fired him. Disney fired him. And so the rumors swirling around was, will they just recast Kang? Will they just switch gears and do Doctor Doom? It was kind of looking like that's what was going to happen, but then rumors started swirling this week that they've potentially recast Kang. I don't know what that means, but they're potentially recast him with Coleman Domingo, which is a choice that I find absolutely inspiring and fantastic. The reason why the rumors are circulating is because, it was circulating online from people who are breaking things down, and he was being interviewed because the man is currently nominated for an Academy Award. And he says, do I know this to be true or not? I actually don't know. I feel like my team doesn't bring me something unless it's real. So I don't know. I could be in conversation, but I'm not sure. I would welcome a conversation around it. That pretty much means he's having a conversation around it, right?
Right. And what I think we all need to be talking about is, our anger with Coleman Domingo, because in one of those 3-part kind of diagrams where things overlap and you get to pick 2 options, but never all 3, that good, that handsome, that name, pick 2, buddy. Pick 2. That's it. Leave a little bit of meat for the rest of us. I'm over here with I'm Alex Enriquez. It's my name sounds like a guttural. It sounds like something you could be having a reaction to. Yeah, you could vomit and say my name. Coleman Domingo, that's a song that you're asking us all to sing, and we will gladly sing it as long as you are also not as good at acting and as handsome as you are. Pick 2.
Speaking of, and it's singing too, can be seen not just in Rustin, but is also in The Color Purple playing Big Daddy singing.
I'm done. I'm out. He can sing. He's like a quintuple threat. I'm like,
the thing
that's not fair.
The thing that's so inspiring about this choice is that's what they're going. I don't know. Have you seen Rustin?
I have not.
I have seen it. It is the movie itself is pretty good. He, as a performer, is a revelation. And Coleman Domingo has been working for years and years and years. He's probably over 20 plus years in the industry, mostly as like a character actor. Like he just did 7 seasons on Fear the Walking Dead. And then this part of Byron Rustin, who's a real person, who is a Black gay man, that was very involved and had a large hand in organizing the March on Washington, where Dr. Martin Luther King gave the "I Have a Dream" speech. But because of the fact he was gay, that kind of part of history is kind of not really talked about. So he himself is a gay man. So the fact that they actually cast a gay man to play a gay character for Hollywood is saying something. But then, that aside, the performance is amazing. He is so good, and it's like a career-making performance because he's now elevated himself to, this guy should play Kang. And you know what? He freaking can.
You're not doing me or him any favors in my cruel vendetta against somebody who's been so greedy at the pool of blessings and favor. I'm just saying it makes me, I got to walk around like a sack of potatoes with eyebrows on it. And this guy is just, he's getting his due now. He just did 7 seasons on Walking Dead. Okay. I'm gonna see and enjoy this movie and really revel in what he brings to it, but I'm not gonna be happy about it.
It's fine. He brings a lot too. He does go on further to say in an interview for Vanity Fair, he doesn't say there's hearsay, there's conversations, but I'm not even sure because I feel like nothing comes to me until something's real. But I'd be down with it. I can't tell if it's true or not. So I mean, all of that stuff. This is very much a thing that's happening.
If you become part of one of those conversations, you as Kenny Stevenson today, and they're like, hey, Dr. Doom, is there a part of you that's like, I want to play. I want to. Why can't I be a hero guy? I want to be a hero. That would be my feeling. I would want to be a hero.
This would be way, way, way in the distance. But my first reaction is be like, did like 150 people say no before you're coming to me? Like, I mean, I'll take this. I'll take this in a heartbeat. But I want to make sure you guys are making the right choice here.
There's not another out there that has my name that's a person you actually meant, right? Thing that's actually happened to me.
There is another Kenny Stevenson who works in the industry. He's an editor. And I remember there was a night when IMDb we were trying to get some credits on my IMDb. Half of was when we were trying to put my movie, Misconnections, aka Love, Sex, and Misconnections. We were getting it up on IMDb, and for whatever reason, IMDb decided that Kenny Stevenson was going to be this other Kenny Stevenson. That was because there was 2 missed connections out at the same time doing the festival circuit, and there was another Kenny Stevenson. So this other guy, I was able to like stake the claim because as soon as that happened, I was like, Kenny Stevenson is me. I staked that claim. So now he became Kenny Stevenson number 2. But I think he now goes by Kenneth Stevenson in there. To
have to be distinctive from the A number 1. Missed Kenny Actions.
Missed Kenny Actions. Well done, Freddie. Freddie Arnell is just pun-tastic. Always ready to pun. I have no good segue to this. We're just going to segue. So Coleman Domingo, great. Love it. Other news this week. So in the Marvel verse, Deadpool and Wolverine, we are now, I believe, like 4 months away since we're now fully into March. And basically, even though it's March 8th or 7th, whatever, 8th today, I mean, March is done, the way time moves. So we're going to be here very quickly. And so as more and more stuff is coming out, it's looking more and more likely that if you were a actor in a Fox X-Men movie, you were at minimum asked to be in Deadpool and Wolverine because actor Vinnie Jones, who, God, talk about an actor who has just done it all and is just like, talk about a guy who doesn't know how to say no to a project. Vinnie Jones, who played Juggernaut in X-Men The Last Stand, a truly, truly terrible film.
heinous act committed on everybody.
Truly terrible. And every single person who directed an X-Men movie, with the exception of Matthew Vaughn, ended up being a real creeper, including Brett Ratner, who did the third one. Yeah, he's a real creeper, and so is Bryan Singer. They're both
Mr. Pick his butt and then eat the shrimp from Crafty. Brett Ratner.
They're both just, there's a reason why neither one of those dudes is making any other movies, because they're terrible people. But Vinnie Jones played Juggernaut, and he, in an interview, because he is now in something that requires them to do a press junket, because he had been, I'm telling you, I'll explain what I'm saying in a second, but he is in the new, Guy Ritchie is doing a TV show for Netflix based on the movie The Gentleman, which is a great movie. And Vinnie Jones is one of Guy Ritchie's people. It's where he started. People, if you don't know, Vinnie Jones was also a footballer, an excellent footballer for Liverpool. It's like the equivalent of like, I don't want to say LeBron James, but let's say like, I don't know, Anthony Davis becoming an actor. Anyway, he said in an interview, because he said he was actually asked to reprise the role for Deadpool and Wolverine, but they couldn't reach a deal. He said, funnily enough, I just got asked to do Deadpool, the new one now. And I spoke to the director, and I just said it's such a drama putting that suit on mentally and physically. I mean, it had its mental toll as well, because you're in it and you can't do anything all day. You can only drink through a straw. So we couldn't strike the deal for Deadpool and Wolverine. Jones added, but Deadpool is my favorite movie of all effing time, more or less. I really wanted to do it, but they didn't have the budget to put me in the suit. So this just kind of confirms that, like, if you were in a Fox movie as an X-Men, you at least the minimum were asked to be in Deadpool and Wolverine.
I've heard they're actually reaching out to audience members, people who just like remember watching X-Men in 1999, being like, "Hey, remember when you saw Patrick Stewart? Pretty cool. Huh? I want to come to the set." Also, they didn't have the budget to pay Vinnie Jones enough that he'd get in the suit again. That's what it really. That breaking point was there. They just didn't hit it.
This is why I'm bringing this up. Why I bring up like the guys made some interesting choices. There are so many movies that this man does that are like clearly paychecks. Like I'm just cashing checks, baby. There is a line of films, and I have to be very delicate here because Sony has distributed these movies straight to video. They are apparently, I believe, based on a comic, but I don't think so. They're called Cross, and that's the character. The main character of Cross is played by Brian Austin Green from Beverly Hills 90210 fame. And to say that these movies are low budget, I don't know if they're intentionally shooting it to look like a low budget movie or if it just is a low budget movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people are firing guns and there's like really bad guns flare coming off it, and it's like people going like bang 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 bang. It's just really really super low budget.
It's actually, I've seen it. It's not, they can't even call it low budget. They have to call it low nudge it because it's just kind of, they're pushing the thing along.
Like, I don't know if they're doing it on purpose. Like Brian Austin Green looks like they just, I think when I wrote, because I wrote on Letterboxd, if you would have told me that Brian Austin Green, someone had kidnapped somebody precious to him and was holding that person at gunpoint, and in order to get that person back, he had to do this movie, then I would believe it because he's just basically like, hey, so I think we got to go over here and get those people out. And I'm like, whoa, Brian Austin Green. But Vinnie Jones is in that movie too. So I'm like, this, and Denny Trejo, which Denny Trejo he'll cash them checks too. That's why I was genuinely shocked to hear that like there wasn't a number that Vinnie Jones would say yes to.
Yeah, I think that he probably is like, yeah, I hate that suit. Pay me $10 million. I'll do this. I'll do your little make 'em ups. And they're like, we were going to do like SAG minimum day rate.
I'm sure they give these people like $100,000 just to be like, I don't know, who knows? Some of these people are like, I'll do it for it. The one person in the trailer who I forget plays like Toad in the X-Men movies, who's in the one person who's like, I love this or whatever. The only like person, actual Fox X-Men they show in the trailer, I bet that guy was like, yeah, sure, scale, I'm there.
He brought a huge stack of headshots to set to pass out to everybody.
But I mean, the takeaway here is
as would I.
Always be closing, baby. ABC.
ABC.
It's all about networking in this town. But clearly this is, I mean, the takeaway here is that it's like kind of like one of these deals like when Endgame was coming out. Like we knew that like everybody was going to be coming back. And there was going to potentially be a scene where like everybody's all in one scene. And we even getting that was still like fucking, pardon my French, screaming at the top of our lungs how awesome it was. We all know at this point that it just seems more and more like every single Fox X-Men character is going to be in this movie. And it's just a matter of which ones aren't, I think, at this point. And one of them is Vinnie Jones.
I am very, very excited. I mean, I just keep ringing that same bell because I do get a little thrill when little Easter eggs and cameos that are unexpected pop up on screen. Because so much of my life as a fan with any of these properties was so very focused. You knew nobody else was going to show up in Spider-Man. You knew. But now that like the gates are open, it's like, oh, cool. Who's gonna just pop up?
It's almost like when you're watching these movies and they're like, oh, so-and-so is here, and you turn your head and it's like not. It's like, oh, just some guy who's actually playing a character in this movie. It's almost like, oh. And I think that's something they need to work on. They need to work on that push-pull. But I remember like watching your hair looks great. WandaVision, when the guy from Sword shows up, it was like, oh, the captain's here, and everybody was like, oh, it's Reed Richards. They said scientist. They said it was scientist. It's Reed Richards, and it was just like a guy.
Yeah.
So it's like, so I feel like they got to work on that. Whoa, they got to work on that. But still, yeah, I think this is where it's going to be interesting to see who's there. Just real quick, who would, I think I've asked this before, but who would you want to see?
Batman in the
from the X-Men movie.
I don't know because Wolverine is basically the only love that I have. I mean, as big a fan of Marsden as I am,
I think Marsden's for sure in this movie. I think Marsden's for sure in his Cyclops.
His Cyclops, I never liked. The character design, I never liked. So I mean, Famke Janssen, I've always thought she was pretty cool.
I'm gonna say no to that. I'm sure she's in it though. I'm sure she's in it.
I don't know. I'm just like I feel like it's one of these things, sort of like the prequels, where through their creative reuse, I'm getting a new appreciation. I get genuinely excited by pictures of Hugh Jackman in the yellow and blue costume. So I think that combined with a big CGI beast, like, just give me the candy.
I want to say that if they can get Jennifer Lawrence in this movie, then that is Marvel. That's like LeBron getting the ball at the top of not even that. LeBron getting the ball at half court and just running and just hammer dunking on the whole rest of the team. Because that would be a huge, we got Jennifer Lawrence to come down and do, I don't know, 2 hours in front of a green screen and get in all the blue. And just for 2 minutes, we got her doing that. And she's right next to Rebecca Romaine. And the two of them go do the Spider-Man meme. I mean, we're writing this movie for them.
And by the way, that happens and nobody goes, huh? Like they did when George Clooney showed up at the end of The Flash.
Well, let's not bring that up. That damn movie. We are going to talk about a Warner Brothers property we enjoyed later. So I guess we should forget. This is kind of Cape Spacey adjacent because Ming-Na Wen, who is a wonderful actor who has appeared in many genre things over the years. She was in the Street Fighter movie, the Jean-Claude Van Damme Street Fighter movie, but she was in The Mandalorian. She was in Book of Boba Fett. Her character name has just left me. I know you know what it is.
Fennec
Shand. We got it at the same time. She has been cast. We don't know what her part is, but she's been cast in a new Karate Kid movie. There is a new Karate Kid movie that's coming. And I feel like Cobra Kai has found its way into kind of fandom space because of its like nostalgia. It's basically just a nostalgia show, although season 6 of Cobra Kai is bonkers, but they've gone really far away from what originally made Karate Kid interesting. But anyway, they're making a new movie, and it's not like, I believe it's going to combine both the Jaden Smith movie and the Ralph Macchio movies, because Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan are both confirmed to be in the movie. And so we don't know much details. It's coming out like next year, but Ming-Na Wen cast, and I think Ming-Na Wen's fantastic. I love it.
At any point, do they plan to actually include a real, like, culturally Japanese person at any point in this franchise? Because I even think our friend and fellow Groundling Sunday Company alum Pat Morita.
No, he is. I looked it up.
I thought he was Hawaiian.
He's born in Hawaii, but I just looked it up, man. I'm gonna look it up again too. Pat Morita.
I guess Noboru Pat Morita. Okay, like
he definitely. I think he was born in Hawaii. I think he's like part native Hawaiian, but I believe there is Japanese descent somewhere in his lineage. And
so they come back to the series and take it to China.
Well, don't look. I have to be very delicate here. I know a lot because I work for the studio that produced the movie. I'm looking at
so it's your fault.
Pat Morita was born. He's not even born in Hawaii. He's born in California. Born in California to Japanese immigrant parents. So he is first generation Japanese. Anyway, how did you hear that noise? Incredible. That's my dog. My dog wants to get out of the room. Hold on one second. That was amazing. Hold on one second. Well done.
Oh, Lord Almighty! Between us, Kenny and I.
That's how smart.
Your Frankenstein noises.
My dog knows that if I'm in the room and we're in the room together, and she's at the door and she's kind of scratching at the door and I haven't come over there, she can hit the little door stop and make it go boing. And
also know that it's the funniest thing she could possibly do.
The timing on it was priceless. Anyway, so I'm saying this because I feel like it's been long enough. The movie came out in 2009. It was originally called The Kung Fu Kid because karate is a Japanese art And the Kung Fu Kid, or the Jaden Smith Karate Kid with Jackie Chan, took place in China. So I know for a fact that movie was called The Kung Fu Kid, and then they decided, because studio decided that it's the same story, so it's called what it is. It's The Karate Kid. At no point in the Karate Kid with Jaden Smith do they say the words karate. At no point. Say Kung Fu a bunch.
Except on the poster and in the big word that means the name of the film.
Yeah,
and
yes.
In the popular imagining that kind of, the wide swath of Americans who just kind of think all Asian things are the same.
Yeah, and this is so interesting. So the new Karate Kid will star Ben Wang from The American-Born Chinese, another Chinese actor, as a young teenager from China who finds identity and strength in martial arts. During his journey of self-discovery, Wang's character meets a disciplined martial arts master. The coming-of-age drama will also find Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio reprising their roles of Mr. Han and Daniel LaRusso. Joshua Jackson, Pacey himself, is also set to appear in the movie. And Sadie Stanley has signed on to the movie romantic lead, and then Ming-Na Wen. I saw her on the picket line while I was picketing during the strike. There, people are like, "Oh, she's short, very short," which means our guy Tamura Morrison is also not very tall, because he's not much taller than her. He's
like stable though. He looks like a sturdy gentleman.
He is. Is also a sturdy gentleman. Christopher Walken. Real quick, I didn't put this on the show notes, but I just read this today. Christopher Walken, who essentially is retired, or he basically put himself on a self hiatus and came out of that hiatus to play the Emperor for Dune Part 2. Do you know what part he was famously auditioned for and didn't get?
No.
I'm going to tell you something right now. If you don't know this, is going to blow your mind. He auditioned for Han Solo.
That's right. I did know that. Yeah.
In an interview with Vanity Fair, he remembered that he did in fact do a screen test for Star Wars alongside Jodie Foster auditioning for Princess Leia, saying, "I'm not sure we did a scene." Well, it's probably more like, "I'm not sure we did a scene. Maybe. We just sat in front of," maybe we just sat in front of, in those days, these old videotape cameras. We might have just sat there and did the name, rank, and serial number type of thing. I would say that, yes, I did audition for Star Wars, but so did about 500 other actors. It was a lot of people doing that. So there we go. Instead, he would play Diane Keaton's brother in Annie Hall.
I also auditioned to play Curly in the Three Stooges movie. Stuff happens.
You did?
I did.
Hey, man. Directed by Peter Farrelly.
I guess.
I can't say much more than that. Anyway, we're not going to talk about Dune Part 2, but did you see the story that came out this week about how Denis Villeneuve, how he lent a dying man his laptop so he could see Dune 2 before he passed away?
And I also read and check his emails real quick too. I saw. I didn't see this piece of news. This is pretty cool.
So it's this guy named Jose Gagnon, who runs the Canada-based charity Levant, recounted his journey of getting in touch with Dune Part 2 director Denis Villeneuve and producer wife Tanya Lapointe in hopes of making the screening happen. He's trying to get a screening for somebody as their dying wish. They had invited the man to see it in Los Angeles, but the man was too weak to travel. So instead, they sent an assistant with Villeneuve's laptop, which contained a full version of the film, and they just screened it for him. The man said on his Facebook, he was extremely touched by the person who, Gagnon, who runs the charity. They were extremely touched by this man's last wish. They told me it's precisely for him that we make films. Still, it was an arduous journey for making the intimate Dune Part 2 screening happen. Nothing was possible. Time was passing. The dying man was dying. A race against time. Then, with the help of my accomplice and Denis's team, we managed to create something wonderful. That's so. Then one wonderful moment when the man was so weak that he thought he might die while watching the film. He didn't have the strength to listen at all. It didn't matter. The man who had a very difficult start of life saw extremely important people mobilized to carry out his last wish. then that was worth all the gold in the world. The man died just a few days later. Isn't that an unbelievable story?
I really always appreciate it when anybody from these like projects or anything like that goes the extra mile for people that are in those sorts of situations. We've heard it before with like Star Wars movies, Lord of the Rings movies. It like puts paid to how serious people take this stuff and how close people hold it to themselves. And I'm sure to this enormous Dune fan, seeing somebody so capably helmet like meant the world to them, and that connection right at the end of their life, like that's truly remarkable. And God rest and God bless that person's family.
Yeah, it's just a reminder of how impactful storytelling is. And while we're up here talking about Gugan, whether you can when an alien is walking on its hind legs, you can definitely have sex with it. Like but still, beyond us being a bunch of goofballs, these stories do have impacts on people's lives.
Right. And by the way, crucially, Kenny, it has to be walking on its back two legs and saying yes. That's the other rule of having sex with an alien.
100%. Yeah. So definitely consent. All right. That was
vigorous consent.
We were on the Fan Controlled Sports and Entertainment Twitch stream, YouTube stream. We're doing the entertainment. Now it's time to do the sports portion of it. We are going to do, this is where we do one piece of sports news. Alex, you go first. Take us out to the paddock.
Well, it's not very exciting on the track, as it seems even from one race into the season that Max Verstappen is well on his way to a third back-to-back Formula One championship. The excitement, the drama, and in fact, the friction is happening off the track. Red Bull team principal Christian Horner was embroiled in allegations of sexual misconduct with another Red Bull employee. Red Bull hired an outside agency to conduct an investigation that cleared Christian Horner. Subsequent to this, a cache of files with leaked text messages and the results of the investigation were leaked to 200 members of the Federation Internationale Automobile, the overseeing regulator of Formula One, as well as Formula One rights owner Liberty Media, that tried to, I guess, stain further Christian Horner. Another thing that happened subsequent is that Max Verstappen's father, Jos Verstappen, a actually imprisoned, so he has been imprisoned before for being a hothead. He has said that Christian Horner needs to go, that these allegations are tearing the team apart, and it's been alleged that the employee who made the allegations against Christian Horner is in a romantic relationship with Jos Verstappen, the father of Max Verstappen, the champion of the Red Bull team. Ahead of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix this weekend, there's just a lot of push and pull on the paddock, and it's kind of get your popcorn ready. Back to you, Kenny.
Get your popcorn ready. That's incredible. Wow. That is some next level stuff there.
I didn't talk about a car nary not one time in that whole sports update. It was all about people just doing. Back to you.
Alex, do you know where the Antelope Valley is?
I do.
It's just north of us here in LA. It's the city of Antelope Valley. It's the city of Lancaster. Do you know there's a university out there? It's called Antelope Valley University.
I heard they just got indoor plumbing.
Well, just so you know, just hours before the school was set to shut down for good, Antelope Valley's men's basketball coach, Jordan Mast, said that he was happy that the men's and women's basketball teams will get the opportunity to finish the year after raising $40,000 to pay for their postseasons. So they both qualified they're in what's called the NAIA, which is a different division of sports, usually have some sort of religious affiliation, but not in the case of Antelope Valley. Both teams had qualified for the NAIA tournament because of how they were supposed to have games playing, and they needed to, but however, the campus they call home will not be there, despite its school no longer operating after a government order to cease operations of all degree programs. Wow, I need to read more about this.
Jeez.
Here we go. Last month, officials at Antelope Valley, a private school in Lancaster, told Mass United coaches at the school the team season would be canceled because of the pending closure of the campus due to financial difficulties, and they wouldn't be allowed to participate in the NCAA tournament, but he was able to make it all happen. This is with a GoFundMe page, America, where we, God, man, GoFundMe. America, where we make people go to ask people for money from friends because they can't afford to have their kidneys replaced. America,
we're doing it. We are it.
We are it. Alex, you are out. Someone who's definitely doing it, which is in terms of getting us the sponsorship, getting us all of the hot ad reads, hot gossip, hot all kinds of whatever. Hot stuff. I don't know. My brain is maybe 50% right now. Who's our corporate sponsor for the week?
Our corporate sponsor underwriting the program is a new and kind of niche business that's popped up here in the neighborhood. And they want to say, has your sandworm popcorn topper gone from shy halud to shy halud? Ooh, that collector's item could use a little TLC. Hi, we're Dune Your Thing sandworm popcorn topper repair and restoration services. AMC's commemorative sandworm sculpted sand popcorn toppers have gotten a lot of attention recently in the media for their lifelike detailing and nothing else. Our technicians come to your home and make sure your sandworm popcorn topper looks great on your shelf and nowhere else for the rest of your collecting life. So that's Dune Your Thing sandworm popcorn topper repair and restoration services.
Oh,
you're on La Brea.
What a get that business up and running real quick. And the shelf life is, who knows? I don't know how long that those popcorn boxes are going to be around, but they are definitely in the cultural zeitgeist for sure. And just for being popcorn toppers. That's it. Nothing, no other reason.
You know, you see a need, fill a need. That's the American way.
What's that noise? Dune, 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 dune. Spice, baby. The other option for the show name was going to be, which I posed, which was Dune, 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 Dune.
Yeah.
We're finally here, baby. We're talking about Dune Part 2. We were supposed to talk about it last week. I wasn't feeling good. I'm still not feeling great, but we're doing a show. We saw this movie. Alex saw it. I saw it in friggin' IMAX, which, holy moly, that was an experience. I feel like there's just going to be, I don't know, 45 minutes of gushing, but that sounds gross. But quick, dude.
Yeah, you're definitely not allowed to say or do that on Twitch.
I gotta be wrapped up in like 40 minutes. They're gonna have a meeting at 1. Anyway, so I'm gonna try my best to do a plot recap. This is a 3-hour movie, so and it's a movie that doesn't even come close to covering all the stuff that's in the book. Let me do my best here. All right. We open on a movie. This is written by, let me see who it's written by. It is a screenplay by Denis Villeneuve and John Spates, and is based on the book Dune by Frank Herbert, directed by Denis Villeneuve. We open on Princess Irulan Carino, who secretly journals that Paul Atreides may still be alive, while her father, Emperor Shaddam IV, is dispirited after assisting in the extermination of House Atreides. On Arrakis, Stilgar's freedmen troops, including Paul and Lady Jessica, overcome a Harkonnen patrol. When Jessica and Paul reach Sietch Tabor, some Fremen suspect they are spies. Okay, Stilgar informs Jessica that the Reverend Mother is dying and she must become her replacement by drinking the water of life, a fatal poison for males and the untrained. However, Jessica successfully transmutes the poison, surviving and inheriting the memories of every female ancestor in her lineage. Blah, 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 blah. Let's do that. Paul and Chani gradually fall in love as Paul embraces the Fremen ways, learning their language, taking part in rites such as riding a sandworm, becoming a Fedaykin fighter, and helping raid Harkonnen spice operations. Paul takes on the Fremen names Usul and Muad'Dib. Due to the devastating spice raids, Baron Harkonnen replaces his nephew Rabban, who is Dave Bautista, as Arrakis' ruler with his psychotic, murderous younger nephew, Feyd Rautha, played by Elvis. Lady Margot Fenring, a Bene Gesserit acolyte, is sent to evaluate Feyd's suitability as a prospective Kwisatz Haderach and to seduce him. And it definitely at some point felt like she was Going to be giving him a BJ. Jessica travels south to unite with more Fremen fundamentalists, but Paul fears his visions would show that a holy war will manifest if he goes south as a messiah. Staying in the north, he reunites with Gurney Halleck, who leads him to the House Atreides' hidden atomic stockpile. Feyre Routha attacks Sage Tabor and kills Shisakli, which forces the survivors, including Paul, to journey south. Upon arriving, Paul drinks the water of life and falls into a deep coma. Chani is forced to awaken him by mixing her tears with the water across his lips. He attains both prescience and knowledge of the past, seeing a vision of an adult Aaliyah, which is his sister, on a water-filled Arrakis, played by Anna Taylor-Joy, which was wow, and discovering that Jessica is the Baron's daughter, making Paul both an Atreides and a Harkonnen. Southern Fremen we finally get to Lisa. The Southern Fremen leaders urge Paul to challenge Stilgar for leadership, but he refuses and instead proves himself by recruiting the thoughts of two Fremen spectators. He declares himself the Lisan al-Gaib and sends a challenge to Shaddam, who then arrives on Arrakis with Irulan Mohaim and his Sardaukar troops. Paul's Fremen surround Shaddam's forces and attack, using atomics and sandworms. Gurney intercepts and kills the fleeing Raban as Paul challenges for the throne. Demanding Irulan's hand in marriage, the great houses arrive in orbit. Paul threatens to destroy Arrakis' spice fields with the Atreides atomics if they intervene. So he chooses Shaddam chooses Feyre Routha as his champion. The two engage in a knife duel. Well, Feyre nearly kills Paul with a hidden needle before Paul fatally stabs him. Irulan agrees to Paul's demand of marriage on condition that her father lives. Shaddam kneels and kisses Paul's signet ring. Above Arrakis, the great houses refuse to accept Paul's ascendancy, so Paul orders the Fremen to attack the orbiting fleet in response. As Stilgar leads the Fremen onto captured Sardaukar ships, Jessica and Aaliyah reflect that this is the beginning of Muad'Dib's holy war. A heartbroken Chani refuses to bow to Paul and departs on a sandworm. Woo! Alex, what did you think of this movie?
All hail Danny Quesadillas. What a king. Go off, king. That's what I say. He really did something here. Everything works. Everything makes sense. The imagination on display is unimaginable. It really is so focused and the product of a vision, the product of very dedicated people working toward a vision that was clearly articulated to them. I mean, I don't know. It's, movies used to be 2 hours and now they are almost all verging on 3 hours. And this movie did not feel like, I was like, wait, they're coming to the end? What time could it be possibly? I mean, it just moved. It's so big and heady and philosophical and action packed and intense. It really just has it all. I think it's a huge lift. It's an accomplishment.
This movie is fantastic. There's really it's excellent. There's no way around it. It is the peak of filmmaking and what this art form can do in terms of everything. Costume design, production design, the special effects are seamless. Like it just the stuff that's happening in this movie, the art direction, the director of photography, the all of it has put together something that is wholly original, based on a property. Like there's no way. I think we talked about this when we recapped the first Dune movie. There's no way. And I read the book. I've finished it. There's no way in a million years in my mind after reading Dune would I think that that's what that would look like. But like seeing it all, it all tracks, and it's just everything. Every minute detail is pristine. But it's on top of all that. All the performances are fantastic. All the characters are truly multi-layered and interesting. And there are some choices that are made different from the book that I think that all worked. Like there were things that were missing, but there's one major thing that I missed, but I know it's implied that it's coming in Dune Part 3, which I have to assume is happening now at this point. It's just I saw it in IMAX. It was spectacular. I've never seen like that scene where the Fremen are leading the attack on the Emperor, on the Sardaukar, and it's from the trailer, 3 giant sandworms just come like emerging from a sandstorm. Watching that on IMAX was nothing short of breathtaking. It's unbelievable. And yes, the length of time thing you mentioned is like, there are so many movies that I've watched for award shows this year for voting that are longer than 3 hours, and both of the Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, even Maestro. There are movies that I was like, oh, you could have tell me you can't cut an hour off of this, like especially Killers of the Flower Moon. That's a 3.5 hour movie. Like we're not like it's not like a complex plot. It's not like, well, we need that extra time to make sure we get the plot is clear. It's clear. It's not a very complex film. This movie I could have watched for, I don't care, 8 more hours. It was riveting. Just an absolutely fantastic time with the movies, period.
Right. I don't think I've seen another film that I just had. It was all just so seamless, especially these big budget science fiction or genre films. There's always, even in the best of them, there's always this little kind of, I feel like this edge of where you can see where the notes were applied, where you can kind of see where people had to pivot after testing. And this just seems wholly pure and assured, and it's itself.
Which is just absolutely staggering coming from a studio like Warner Brothers, a studio that we were just talking about last week that is just deleting a film that cost $110 million in Coyote versus Acme, but basically seemed to have let Denis Villeneuve do whatever the heck he wanted. It felt like just such a focused vision, and there were so many moments in the movie where I was just like in awe of stuff that was going on. Like, and there are things that like I have like little things here and there, but overall, like it's just a real unbelievable achievement, and it's really kind of wild that they waited to put I know they wanted to get it out. This was supposed to come out last November. I feel like they were definitely wanting this to be an Oscar contender. I hope people remember this movie in March at the end of the year, because if this does not get any sort of, even just nominations, just for the technical piece of it alone, is just unbelievable.
They have to have back-pocketed some kind of marketing strategy with like a holiday-timed re-release with new footage or something like that. It's all got to be cooked into the plan. And by the way, this is a studio that's holding a contract that another company wrote for Danny Quesadillas. They're like, they're to put it in a sports term, I think they're kind of like the whoever's going to hire Russell Wilson. That Denver's going to be paying all of his contract.
Yeah, it's like when somebody waives somebody and they still are under contract for 3 years, and it's like, you know what, we're going to pay, we don't want you here so much, we're going to pay you to not be here. And somebody else, they definitely, I bet if Zaslav had his way, he'd be like, look, Dennis Villeneuve, you are, because he definitely, if anyone's going to call Denis Villeneuve Dennis, it's David Zaslav. David Zaslav is like, look, Dennis, I know you want to make another one of these, kid, and this one costs $200. Can you make it for $50?
And can Joanna Gaines play Princess Irulan?
Can we make the Property Brothers Harkonnen?
We want to do a love it or list it with all of the houses, castles. What is that place on Carino? You'd think they'd love it or list it. You remember the Canadian guy?
Are you going to love it, or are you going to list it?
List it. Thank you. Yes, you know what I'm talking about.
100%. That's not even a Canadian accent. I don't know why he chooses to say list it.
List it.
It's almost like a British. Like you're not a Brit. So your British might say, "Are you going to love it, or are you going to list it?" Now that makes sense, but when you're Canadian, that don't make no sense.
Yeah,
they're all in the Commonwealth, whatever.
Yeah, they got the Queen on their money.
They do. The King now, for however long that's going to
I know, boy, that guy.
know.
Have you seen a picture of that dude's hands?
Anywho,
Yikes.
this movie definitely sets up, like, it definitely, unlike, I mean, the book kind of has, the book was written as a standalone, and then this is something I've been reading and listening to since I've watched the movie. The 24 hours since I watched the movie, I've not read Dune Messiah. My understanding was that Herbert was always kind of wanted to make a series, but Dune Messiah was specifically written because he didn't think people got the intent of the first Dune book. So that book, and yeah, king size.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, he didn't. The book doesn't end with like an it implies the story's going to go on, but this movie specifically ends with like, this is a middle story. There is more to this story to tell, and it kind of operates as such. Like at the end, when Paul, defeats Feyd-Rautha and Princess Irulan agrees to marry him, which that's probably the biggest change, two of the biggest changes from the book. It doesn't feel like, this is the end of the story. It definitely doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like it's almost like a reverse arc. We'll talk about what happens in Messiah because I have read a little bit in a little bit, but obviously this movie is setting up more. Yes.
Yeah. I think too, Dune is definitely something that I had a hard time with, like academically. I'm definitely
tough read.
I'm definitely one of the people that Frank Herbert would have needed to write Messiah for, because I with no other influence other than, I know Dune's this classic series. I listened to, I think, the first 4 books several years ago, and I definitely fell into that trap of, Paul Atreides is Luke Skywalker. He's the hero. And then as the series went on, I'm like, oh wait, there's like a lot of bad stuff that's happening because of him, but like it's still the same dude. It's still the same guy carrying out the same mission. And so part of really what I like about this movie coming out is all of the discourse that's happening about the themes of the book, about the intention of the author. Because you really do. I think where I kind of stumble in this story is that you're delivered into this world where seemingly nobody is good. Like everybody in the world of Dune kind of sucks. And the Bene Gesserit seem like they're like, I don't know, maybe it's just because they were all women that they were like, well, we're behind the scenes making sure things don't suck worse. And this Kwisatz Haderach guy, if we can, even through our manipulations, make this guy happen, it'll save everybody. But like the whole message is there is nobody who's going to save everybody. There is no Messiah. And believing in a Messiah will be the downfall of any civilization that takes up the call. And that's what Herbert is literally saying in the 3rd book.
Yes, I'm glad we're going. I put this for later, but let's just go here now because
I know. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I thought we would be like on positive corner. I don't think this is one of the negatives of the movie at all. But this is something that I've listened to some other people, and I do recommend. I'm a white guy. I don't think you should hear all of my discourse on white saviorism, but go listen to the Ringerverse this week, the Midnight Boys, which is 3 black men and a white man. They specifically take like 50 minutes talking about, and these are people who absolutely loved the movie, like gave it a 12 out of 12. Like, and one of them was going to see it again that day in IMAX. But they talk about their relationship to white saviorism and how this film either achieved or didn't achieve that, or did it or reinforced it or whatever. So in the book, basically Herbert wrote the Messiah because the reason Paul Atreides is supposed to be this, like you just said, if you pump somebody up to be this Messiah, what it ultimately proves to be a downfall. So this movie does this kind of push and pull between, I guess what I'm trying to say. I guess my question would be kind of like, do you feel at the end of this movie, like, because in the next one, if they make it, he's going to become more and more a villain. Do we feel like at the end of this movie that those seeds are there? I mean, the thing with Chani not being with, that's something, I'll talk about that in a second, but do you think after, just from what, like tonally, do you feel like that's where we're headed?
Definitely. 100%. There are a lot of big, hefty clues that happen visually in, when he makes the final big turn. There's a difference in how they shoot him, light him, dress him, everything. And you see why Chani leaves. And I think that it's something that's going to reinforce itself with repeat viewing. I think people will get further and further, start to notice where these things are. Because I've been looking at some of the conversation online, people pointing out that even he knows what the desert field mouse is called in the Fremen language, but he asks them what it's called anyway, to reinforce this connection, to like manipulate even further. And I think that like it's, I think Denny is a little too coy to go like, here he is, the villain. But
no, for sure,
Paul's gonna do what Paul does, and Denny's gonna be like, what do you think about it? This is probably not good, right? And then, of course, drawing the parallels back to, colonialism, to the Middle East. Here, religious fundamentalists living in a land that colonizers have chosen to exploit for a resource.
He has to go from the north to the south to officially become the leader. He has to go down to the south. And like, I know that that's not necessarily the intent, but I mean, it's hard to not say those things. So it's like, it's weird. It walks this fine line between it definitely posits this white saviorism. It definitely has a lot of those tropes, but the fact that they're in the book, it's a little more on the nose with it. This is like the fact that he's reluctant, the fact that he's like, I don't want to lead you. I don't want to go to the south, because if I go to the south, there's going to be death and destruction, and I don't want to do it. And so he doesn't want to be this leader. And that is a change in the book. And the fact that Chani does leave, it sets up that like, hey everyone, because she's the last person we see when this movie ends. I feel like Dune Part 3 is she's going to be the lead. And because in the book, and this to further to kind of the saviorism and misogyny as well, in the book, she basically, when he tells her that I'm going to marry Irulan, but you're my love and I want you to stay with me, she's like, cool. Because her and Jessica are very friendly in the book. They're not like antagonistic as they are in this movie. They are together. They're like not together. And Jessica was a concubine. So it makes that whole kind of thing okay. So and in the book, to further drive that home, in the book, there's a 2-year jump that happens in the book that does not happen in this movie. And in that 2-year jump, Paul and Chani have a kid. There's a kid his name is Leto, named after the dead father. That kid is murdered by Harkonnens. So Chani's one child with Paul is dead, and she still agrees to be his concubine. But in this movie, she does not. And I feel like that really, that to me was what really the Jared Leto, exactly. Jared Leto.
Atreides.
But that was the thing that really set up to me as like, oh, this was the biggest change. And Paul's not a hero. And Paul is not, this is not the hero's journey that we're on. It looks like we're on, and there's definitely a lot of boxes to tick white savior there. I kept looking in those crowds of people who seemed to be speaking Arabic. I kept looking to see if there was somebody as white as Timothy Chalamet, and there never was, except when Brolin shows up. But Brolin's so withered and
he just looks like a purse.
Can we talk about it? I talked a lot. You say something that, and I definitely want to talk about Josh Brolin, but go ahead.
I will say this in terms of like the white savior. I think it's definitely playing a lot with those tropes and that idea, but in a reality, what, based on literally what Paul says when he takes on this leadership mantle, is that he's a colonizer. He's another colonizer.
Nobody can stop me. Nobody can fight me. That's what he says. He gets in front of all of them. They all take their knives out because they're all like, no. He's like, none of you can fight me. None of you. Only I can do it. Who said that recently in 2016? Only I can do it.
These are things that like Denny. These are the things that brought Denny to this.
Oh, 100%. Yes, he said as such.
And it's like, it's so, even that, those things woven in, like we're talking about masterfully wrought science fiction at large, not just a movie or an adaptation, but the way in which that genre was from its inception meant to have these reverberations and reflections of the real world, to kind of, in the way stories always meant to help us process that real world. Like, this is friggin' top drawer stuff, the likes of which we haven't seen in quite a while.
Yeah, and it's I think this is a point that I'm going to say it again, the Midnight Boys bring up as well, is that this movie is trying to have that political conversation in the guise of a giant blockbuster movie. So ultimately, it's not that message might get a little dirty. So I think there might be some people when they see part 3 that are like, "Oh, Paul's a bad guy, but he freed all those people." So, but we'll see.
You're gonna get legions of Paul stands on TikTok during 3, like apologizing for apologists that are like, oh, Paul didn't do what he was doing, like to do, like
hashtag not all Pauls.
Yeah. Paul lives matter, baby.
Oh wow. Love it. I do want to talk about, you mentioned Gurney Halleck, Josh Brolin, Gurney Halleck. So one thing I've been lamenting about the first Dune was the fact that in the book, and Patrick Stewart's character in the David Lynch's Dune, Gurney not only is a skilled fighter, but he is a singer. He is a bard. He knows all these songs, and he's constantly pulling out their version of a guitar and singing.
It's the balisette.
Thank you, the balisette. Thank you. Which looked just like a guitar in this movie, and in this one and this is in the book as well. And the implication at the end of the first movie is that he's dead, and then it's a little fuzzy in the movie. But if you didn't know, he is. And I think he gets involved in the spice trade. He gets mixed up with some mercenaries who are also people who live in the desert. They're a little more opportunistic than the Fremen are. But we see him, and he is just playing that balisette, and he's singing a song. And I felt like my heart is still beaming from that. Does he do a good job of it? No, but he did it. It's
almost as if they went, "Here you go, nerds."
We heard that all you dorks were like, "Hey, Josh Brolin's gonna. Where's Josh Brolin's balisette?"
And then
and I was one of those people.
I saw. Well, here's the thing. They took it a little too literally because Josh Brolin at no point seemed like somebody who could or would be musical. So that's really what we're kind of dealing with here as his character. But I that moment did stick out to me. I saw that, I knew it was happening, and I pumped my fist in enthusiasm in the theater in which I was watching the movie, which was separate from your movie experience. But I was very sympathetically excited for you, Kenny. I'm glad Danny Quesadillas landed that bird for you.
Me too. I was the living, my favorite GIF that I always send people. If you just go into your iMessages and type in LFG and scroll down a little bit, it's a picture of Leonardo DiCaprio from Wolf of Wall Street screaming into the microphone like, "Ah!" and then he steps away. And that was me. I was like, F yeah!
Yeah.
BC Lion, happy to see you this fine Friday. BC Lion is here. Hey, buddy, good to see you.
Right as you almost drop a bomb.
Drop an F-bomb. Wait till we get to the game. When we get to the game, we're going to be dancing around it. Anyway, we got to get to there soon. We got about 15 minutes. We got to do the show. I wanted to talk about two other things. All right, so there was no time jump. The only other thing that's the big other thing that wasn't in this movie is the fact that kid, the daughter, that kid. So we did the 2-year jump. That kid is born in the movie. We don't know when the season's going to start. Yeety Gamer 9. We're talking about Dune Part 2 right now. In the book, that baby is born, and that baby is born with the powers of the what is it called? What is Jessica's
the Bene
mother?
Gesserit?
No, she's not, but she has the same sight.
Oh, she's the Reverend Mother. She has the Reverend Mother thing.
So she's Bene Gesserit, and she has the sight that the Reverend Mother has, and so she is a huge part of the book. And so the fact that she's not even born by the end of this, because all that same stuff happens. It takes 2 years for Paul to embed with the Fremen, be accepted, take over all that stuff takes place over 2 years. This happens in less than 9 months. I was a little shocked at the end to see that. First of all, the fact that this is a blockbuster film with a woman talking to her baby was just incredible stuff. But
really, yeah.
Do you think that this all stuff actually could have happened in 8 or 9 months? I don't know.
It's Google world, man. She's been ingesting spice. World, like maybe the spice makes the baby grow faster.
Slower.
I don't know.
I would think you have to grow slower. I have to grow slower. I would think. If you told me this, because to me, I'm watching this. I feel like this takes place over. It feels like 2 years, but no, it's not. Because some of those things, he immediately is like, "I want to fight with you guys," and they're like, "Yeah." And that to me implied that he might be there for like, I don't know, 6 months worth of like, but I guess it's really only like a month's worth of like fighting. I don't know. I mean, hey, it's not taking away from my love of the movie. I thought about that as like, oh, this is all. She's still pregnant with that kid. Oh, okay.
I'm just glad somebody's finally shedding some light on how freaky fetuses are, man. Those are
man,
weird, wild looking stuff up there.
We are like opening on that thing. It is, yeah. And Danny Quesadilla. I don't know how. I mean, it had to have been shot with either like a model or I don't know, but that's zygotes. Thank God for Alabama, because those are definitely people.
That's a person up there.
Oh, good. That's good Lord.
Big old person up there. You could tell from looking at it. You're like, yes, people are that wet and bulbous.
Good Lord. Woo.
Anyway.
Anywho, I don't want to say we got about 10 minutes left. Real quick before we do winners and losers, I think it might play into it. Any performances that we haven't mentioned that you think are worth mentioning?
I really liked Austin Butler's impression of Stellan Skarsgård.
He's fully doing one, yes,
and very, very well. And I think maybe Austin Butler's just like the next Jim Carrey or something. He's just like an incredible mimic.
Yeah, he definitely is like watched like Good Will Hunting, and like that Stellan Skarsgård is who he's doing. Like it is like you have to push him. You have to push. Like I always think of like him in that movie. Which that's
why he looks at the camera and goes, "How do you like them apples?"
He was great. I loved the Harkonnen stuff, the memification of the Baron like sitting in the like black stuff, and people just like I think I put on threads like when I only invited a couple of people from work, and then I put me and that picture. And it's just stuff like that. Like someone's like when somebody tells me I've had too many cups of coffee, like stuff like that. It's just really great. But like that stuff works really well. Yeah. And Austin Butler, yeah, even though he's definitely like the vocal mimicry, but he was great, man. He's a really, really talented actor. Definitely should be doing more than just like Elvis-y type stuff. He's really talented and
tight little body on him too.
Yes, he took his shirt off, and I was like, okay, go off, King. Zendaya, I thought was really, really excellent in this movie.
She's incredible.
There was at one point where she was having like a really big moment towards the end of the movie, and I was like, God, you were on a Disney Channel show. Like, holy moly, right? Like you're on a Disney Channel show, and you are just holding it here. You are just absolutely commanding this. And if she does end up being like the protagonist to counter Paul in the next movie, she can more than hold her own.
She has what like I can only ever characterize it as swagger. Like that 100%. she in everything she does, she's so natural. The confidence she brings, the naturalness that she brings, like I don't know. She is somebody whose acting I admire as an actor that I would want to
Yes.
like, oh, if I could adopt a little more Zendaya centeredness. I don't know. There's something about her work that I really respect and esteem.
Yeah, and I would love to see her in a scene with Florence Pugh, who I've made no qualms about on this show that I think is fantastic. And I just think the two of them together would be just crackling on screen. And if Bears mentioned that Timothée Chalamet is also fantastic in this movie. I think, he doesn't telegraph too much. He skilled, like he's just the guy, baby-faced guy. I'm interested to see what he's going to look like at age 42, but the guy is really kicking it, man.
He does a really good job. It's a very complex part of the unfilmability of this project is Paul, and he's very capably handling it. Yeah,
that's a great point. I don't know if we'd have the stable of actors to pull this story off as we do. I mean, this first one had Oscar Isaac, who is just an amazing performer, and we would love to have him there, but we don't necessarily need him because there's so many other great performances in this movie. I mean, holy cow. Why am I dropping on his name all of a sudden? Javier Bardem. I mean, just that's the other great meme is when he it pans down and you see that he's that Paul is stabbed Fayed Rautha, and he's like, so many people are being like taking the 4 squares and doing like, hey, I took out the garbage. Oh, you did it without me even asking you? Yeah. Stuff like that. Just fantastic stuff. All right, let's do winners and losers. Was this Star Trek or Star Wars?
This is one of the rare outside. This is 2001. This is supersedes each, is exemplary of the genre, but rides each. I mean, I was going to say that this is a very Spielbergian turn in terms of its entertainment value and its absolute artistic cinematic quality.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, this is on its own. It's some combination of all of those things and then wholly its own thing. Because there were like a few jokes in this movie, which was very surprising. Because there's like no jokes in the first one. There actually were some laughs. It was actually like, oh, okay. Like this movie is kind of its own thing. All right, winners and losers. Who's the big winner for you?
The big loser, right? Oh no. Winners and losers. Big winner. I think is like the science fiction community at large. I think that it in the same way that like something like Batman in 1990 brought superheroes into a sort of a crossover frame that people could like get into. I think this is the perfect kind of big idea, big swing thing. Like just the idea that a big science fiction epic about the dangers of despotism is getting in front of millions of people's eyes in the last few weeks is like, that's the power of science fiction. That's who wins.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. So I will make my winner, and this is the first time this is ever going to happen, so enjoy it while you can. My winner this week is Kevin Feige, because this film is so devoid of water. Like they are literally sucking water out of dead Sardaukar that they hearken in, that they say is even like, well, it's chemicals, but we use it as like coolant. So like there was such few water in this movie that if there was a title to not see Sam Wilson's shrimping boat, this would be it. So, Kevin, you get a week off from that. So I don't know if there's any losers in this scenario then. There's really no loser with this movie.
Yeah, this is an all-winner one. This is the first ever fan-controlled fandom no loser edition. In fact, the only loser is you if you don't go see the movie.
100. Oh my God, yeah. And go see it in IMAX. I felt like my heart was going to explode at times. The rumbling of the seats and oh my God, just an unbelievable movie experience. All the things. I will say, if you do have a cough, stay the F home. Stop coming to the movie theaters when you clearly are not well. There are so many people in the theater who are like hacking coughs. And I'm like, bro, dude, stay home.
So here's my story. I went and saw it at the AMC. I got my little candy bites and I'm sitting there and the previews all go. And then it's like an AMC commercial after all of the trailers. And I thought, oh, is this the new spot that I heard about that they've replaced? Nicole Kidman? Cool. It's fine. We're finally getting to the movie. and then I take a bite, and then the wet concrete and the high heels, clunk, clunk. We come to this place to believe, and it reflexively rolled my eyes like this, and my head pitched back as a result, and I started to choke on a piece of candy. and I'm like very near a couple of people who I'm like, now they think I have COVID. And so I had to just
if you don't have COVID, like they've now lopped COVID in with RSV and flu, and I'm just like, everyone's coughing. Like if you're sick, just take a day off, man. Don't be like, well, I gotta push through. Like there's at least one guy who was at my screening yesterday who was like, dude, you're clearly not well. Like just like it's okay, man.
The spice must flow, dude.
I get it. All right, do you have another ad read from the bucket fixers?
I do. So they want you to call Dune your thing, sandworm popcorn topper for superior service. Our knowledgeable
in the voice. Wow, nice.
In the voice. Our knowledgeable and very forgiving technicians have the tools and skills to repair and restore your sandworm popcorn topper, and our high durability lucite cases ensure that your sandworm popcorn topper is able to be displayed while it's protected. And the biometric thumbprint lock on that lucite case means only you can take the popcorn topper out to look at it collectively. So that's Dune your thing, sandworm topper restoration and repair services.
I love it. All right, I got 7 minutes here. All right. We got 7 minutes, probably more like 6 minutes. I got to actually set up the call that I'm going to be on.
You're using the time to talk about the time.
I know. It's game time. And you know what time it is now?
Yeah.
Here we go. Yeah. Best moment of streaming.
This is how your weekend starts. You have to feel it.
All right, so I called Alex this week because I am reading the first Foundation book. Speaking of we talked about Dune, which is a real high sci-fi. Foundation is some real high science fiction. But I started reading the book because I love the Apple TV show, and I've never read them. The TV show jumps around through all of the books. There's a trilogy, there's a prequel, there's a second, all kinds of books, all written by Isaac Asimov. So the first book so there's a lot of stuff in the first book that is not in the TV show, only like the first, I believe, story and a half, and it's a series of short stories. The first book introduces a character with the name and title of Prince Regent Weenus. That's the name. And listening to the audiobook, I found myself laughing in public, at work, at the store, at the gym, which leads us to the new game. Did you say Weenus? The game is simple. I'm going to read a line featuring the name Weenus, and you have to tell me if this is an actual line from the book Foundation written by Isaac Asimov. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Number 1. Obedience to appointed authority was the text of every sermon in the kingdom for weeks. Not that Weenus showed any gratitude.
Yes, that's in the book.
Yes, it is. Imagine listening to an audiobook, and this is what's happening every time I laugh. So here we go. Well, we have at least 6 months to spare, so half the ship fixed. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Anyway, we have at least 6 months to spare, so half the ship fixed up and presented with my compliments. Have it renamed the Weenus as a mark of our esteem and affection.
Yes, that's in the book.
Yes, it is in the book. You ready for number 3?
Yeah.
Number 3. Weenus stood upon at the threshold of his chambers and beetled at his young nephew. Weenus, his gaze was cold.
Yes?
Yes, it is. You ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. I messed up. Oh, hold on. I got to find an earlier version of this. There was an earlier... For whatever reason, it overwrote some of my questions, and I know I have a version of this where it should not be. It should be in there. Hold on. Oh, that's it? Oh, jeez. Oh, boy. This is... Let me see here. Sorry, this is great podcasting. Oh, you got that one.
And while we search for this document, I'd like to remind people that if you sign up now with Warby Parker and our code fan-controlled fandom, you can try on the
I know. I can get it. I can get
wearing.
it. Okay. I can get it. I can get it. Hold on. All right. So let's see. So we did number 3. Number 4. Weenus's lip twitched sardonically.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Number 5. Number 5. A huge jack-in-the-box that will jump out at the psychological moment and scare old Weenus into fits.
Yes.
Yes. You ready?
Yes.
And in spite of that, Weenus continued. I have always believed in direct action. I have believed in carving a straight path to my objective and following that path. I have accomplished much that way and fully expect to accomplish still more.
That's not from the book.
No, that is from the book.
Oh, shoot.
Right, ready for this next one?
Yes.
Weenus was groping visibly for self-control.
Yes.
Yes. All right. There's a really good one. What the hell is it? Oh, okay. Weenus was smiling with all but his eyes.
Whoa. Yeah. Yes.
Yes. And finally, my dear Weenus, whoever do you think I'm saving it for?
Yes.
Yep, they're all in the book, baby. Weenus.
My dear Weenus.
And that was called, did you say Weenus? All right, we gotta whip through this stuff here. All right, we gotta do the Hoopla recommendations. This is where you type in your library. I might be a couple minutes late to the meeting, it's fine. Type in your library card. You can read digital comics. Alex, do you have a digital comic to recommend to the folks?
Volume 2 of the High Republic series keeps trucking along. It's very fun. Big, powerful superhero Jedi. It's great. Do it.
I just am loving Attack of the Titan. I'm now on to the 3rd manga, and if manga's kind of, for those of you you read left to right instead of right to left, it's a little bit easier when you're just like swiping on your iPad or just hitting the arrow button on your computer. So worth it. It's such a really great, interesting story. It's something we've never really seen before. Now, Alex, we've got a final read from the Dune folk, from the popcorn topper fixtures, right?
May your popcorn topper chip and shatter? Absolutely not. With our no questions asked reinforcement and modification services, we can make sure that your Iraqian spice serpent won't disintegrate after many rounds of being a collectible. Your sandworm will be sturdier than Stilgar after a trip to our shop. It won't matter how hard anyone looks at your sandworm collectible popcorn topper or how much popcorn you are able to be with toward it. Your sandworm will remain a highly sought after collectible for years to happen.
The last 10 minutes of this show was just a giant penis joke. Oh, man. We did it.
We're getting fired tonight.
No, this is fantastic. Alex, this is the time. What did our dogs think? This is the time we ask our dogs. What did your dogs think of Dune Part 2?
Well, they wanted to remind me there was another episode of The Bad Batch waiting for me. They hate when I have to go see stuff out of the house. Yeah,
I did watch the episode of Bad Batch. We'll talk about that next week, maybe. My dog, I went and saw it I went to go see it. And she did immediately when I came to the door, when I was finished, she did like roll right up and was like, hey, how'd it go? So she was definitely interested in what was going on with on what was happening on Arrakis. And I gave her the full rundown. She was at BC Lions and enjoying your weekend. You two off to Nova Scotia. Well done. Up the Axemen. There you go at Acadia. That's a long journey from BC to Nova Scotia. Safe travels. Alex, we did it. We did another show in the books.
Of course we did it. It's Friday. What else was going to happen?
Exactly. Where can the folks find you?
At Duke_Midnight, MIDNITE on Threads, Instagram, and wherever major magazines are sold.
You can find me at Kenny G. Stevenson on Twitch and TikTok. I have just started to become active on those. Find me at Kenny G. Donut King on Threads. I've been contributing every day to the At Midnight hashtag wars the past couple days. Love that that's back. Love that show. And we'll be back next week talking about something. I don't know, probably Bad Batch, and then we're going to be talking about Ghostbusters, and then we're going to be talking about Kong, and oh my God, that movie.
Your mom. We're going to talk about your mom.
Talking about your mom. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.